Back in 2012, I first reported on concerns that hydraulic fracturing may be causing earthquakes. It was a subject that was just beginning to make headlines. Today, there's much more proof of a correlation between the two. In the fourth part of my fracking series, we take a look at how one state along the Marcellus Shale Formation has dealt with the issue.
What you're doing, there's a variety of activities that take place for months or even years before you begin a prospective part of acreage.
Rob Boulware of Seneca Resources is describing what goes into the fracking process in order to avoid drilling into any fault lines. After all, it's a multi-billion-dollar business where even the diamond-encrusted drill bit can cost between $30,000 to $50,000. Boulware says that's why it's in the best interest of the company to make sure it's done all the necessary seismic testing beforehand.
You'll have a seismic test that takes place that's basically an X-ray of the land to help you understand the geological composition. Then you'll do core samples to make sure that that matches what you find in the seismic testing. And then you'll have a test program to understand what the return rates might be on a particular well.
The U.S. Geological Survey began investigating the relationship between seismic activity and fracking after an unusually large number of earthquakes began happening in the eastern and central states.
The more fluid that is disposed of down the hole, the greater potential size of the earthquake.
This past January, the government agency concluded that at some locations, the increase in seismicity coincides with the injection of wastewater in deep disposal wells.
We think that it's largely the waste disposal part of the process that triggers earthquakes. There are a few instances where the case is quite clear. For example, in Arkansas a few years ago, there was an earthquake of about magnitude 4.7, and that earthquake was, we feel, pretty convincingly tied to wastewater disposal there. We see that both because of the proximity of the earthquakes to the wastewater injection wells, and also in that state, because of the earthquakes, they turned off those injection wells and the earthquake stopped.
That was the case in Ohio, where a DNL energy injection well was found to have caused an increase in seismic activity.
This well was drilled all the way into the Precambrian basement, and this is something that the ODNR has acknowledged and changed in the regulations, is that by drilling into Precambrian basement, you open up a potential avenue for water migrating in this injection well to migrate down into the deeper rocks where there's possibility of old ancient faults.
Ohio now exceeds federal regulations by requiring seismic monitoring and prohibits drilling in the basement layer of rock formations.
Ohio has a seismic monitoring requirement that we can place on an application for a permit to drill. Federal government doesn't have that authority, and most other states don't have anything like that, although others are moving to adopt something similar to that.
And lawmakers say Maryland is considering similar legislation.
And portions of this segment were made possible thanks to a fellowship from the Institute for Journalism and Natural Resources. Be sure to tune in to part 5 of my series. We'll learn more about those issues that are involved with the deep injection wells that are used to dispose of fracking fluids.